Hey, what's up? Welcome to a new episode of Scotty and Micah. Today, we're going to talk about how to fight fair. We know that this is like a big topic in relationships because sometimes people get into arguments and it can literally just crumble the whole relationship or damage somebody emotionally for a very long time. Learning how to fight fair is very important. We're going to get into that today.
Number one are I feel statements. These are very important because instead of pointing the finger at your partner, you are taking these three fingers and looking at yourself. Instead of accusing the person, it makes them defensive and combative. You're disarming them by speaking about how you feel about the situation.
Number two is stick to the topic. Listen, I've dealt with this a lot, right? I might be over here, then I jump over here. So I've learned to stick to the topic at hand. You can only deal with one thing at a time. And if somebody brings something up, it's very important to not bring up something else. Deal with the one thing, because if not, y'all just keep talking and arguing forever. It'll never end. So stick with one thing at a time.
Number three is take time out. It's very important to take a break, step away, go for a drive, do whatever you have to do in order to self regulate if needed. If a person gets emotionally charged in the conversation, that's when you start to say things that you regret, that are disrespectful. It's just not good to let it get to that point. So before you start to argue or actually like ramp up, take a time out.
Number four, acknowledge responsibilities. Listen, gaslighting is something that you do when you're trying to make somebody else feel like they the problem without you acknowledging what you actually did. All right. So the first thing you can do if you want to have a real conversation and get down to the nuts and bolts of things, acknowledge what you did first. People always like to hear that. It's a good disarming technique as well, and it's something that we talk about a lot. Like taking responsibility for what you did before blaming somebody else. Very important.
Number five, focus on solutions. Instead of talking in circles, continuing to go back and forth about the same thing, just get straight to the point of what can be done better. After acknowledging what you've done or taking accountability, it's important to do or say what you can do better next time.
These are ways to be able to fight fair and do this more effectively in your relationship. I know for us, a while back when we first like started dating, started talking to one another, when we got into confrontations, it would just be like way too long, conversation itself, or the time and the time out was too long. It used to get too emotionally charged. But we've changed all of that through hard work, through like being intentional, through talking through, and just literally getting better every time around. Now, when we take a time out, it's not that long. We both like know, like, okay, like we need to get back together. When we have our conversations, it's not as long. I
It used
purpose,
to take days sometimes.
yeah, it would take a while, but now purposely being able to, talk through it without dragging it out and having the intention of resolving it more quickly. And I think that just in general, it's just been better for us being able to talk through things a lot more.
We hate arguing, even though it still happens from time to time. In the beginning, I used to be a lot more impulsive and reactive when it came to our confrontations. And he used to like to kind of mull over or talk through it or think through it for days at a time sometimes. So now we've gotten to the point with these rules for fighting fair, we can have conflict resolution within like 5 minutes. Or less sometimes. It depends on how big or small the situation is. So remember, as you're having conflict, make sure you focus on resolution. Don't be emotionally charged. Make sure you're loving yourself and the people around you.
That's right. And make sure you fight fair. It is one of the key ways to make sure that you're staying together in your relationship. So fight fair.